So, Srinat, what an exciting! I think probably we're going to take a little breather, and we're going to go back to the studio to Katy and Piotr. Maybe Piotr will also show us some moments because it's so hard to keep an eye on everything. Oops, sorry. And then we will be back
Meanwhile,
for round. Sorry, Srinat.
I'm sorry. I just received a WhatsApp message from Kevin, and he was like,
Uh-huh.
see what happens when you mock me. I shut your live video down.
That's very funny. Greetings to Kevin. See, in Singapore, yeah? Greetings to
Yes,
Singapore
from
to
Singapore.
Kevin. And now we will go back to the studio to Katy and Piotr, and we'll be back in 20 minutes for round five.
If we could play rook c7, that could be made, but the rook on c8 is protecting that square. So Daniel found very nice move here, which was rook coming to d8 deflection. And yeah, actually black's rook doesn't have any squares to go to. It would be captured, so yeah, and if it takes, then rook c7. Yeah, that's mate. So very interesting, combination. Very nice touch. But going back here, black could have saved himself with a move bishop d6, just offering the exchange. Then black is no longer in any danger to get mated. The position, according to the engines, is roughly equal. From a human perspective, it's really unclear. I mean, those three against one. It's balanced, but it's still like not that very clear who is better and who can push. But yeah, that's bishop d6. But otherwise, rook e6, rook d8 was just very interesting combination. Okay, let's see some other games. Here's the game: Alexander Donchenko, Grandmaster versus Klaudia Kulon, International Master, current national Polish champion, women champion. And Klaudia played knight h5, which looks very logical. I mean, that's a very typical idea in the King's Indian, just to open up the bishop. The queen may come to h4, then knight g3 is threatened, so yeah, normal move, normal looking move. However, it's a mistake. And Alexander Donchenko found a way to win some material. So we can see that there is some pressure on the d-file, but it doesn't look like we can win the d6 pawn because there is the knight standing on d4. But can we use somehow the pin on the d-file? If we play something like knight c2, it feels just too slow. So how about knight takes c6? Well, then black's got to take on c6, and now bishop takes c5. We just win a pawn, because if d takes c5, queen takes d8, we win some material. So the bishop is taboo. And Klaudia tried queen h4, And now Donchenko just played bishop f2, so the bishop is no longer hanging, and there is no knight g3 check. Actually, bishop d6 was also possible, but I guess rook d8 it was a bit harder to calculate. So from a human perspective, bishop f2 was very nice, and white is just pawn up. Black has no attack, and yeah, actually there was some queen f4, yeah, bishop e3, queen h4, bishop g5 played, and yeah, it got a bit messy, but white was better, and yeah, was just pawn up. Okay, some other games from early round, I think like round 2, and I think this game I can show a full game, and I'm sure that one of the commentators, Grandmaster Srinat, would love to see this game, because we've got some Catalan here. So I think it's worth looking at this game, whether you play Catalan as white or you try to play some Queen's Gambit setup as black, because black has fallen into a very well-known trap. So here is the normal position of the Catalan. D takes c4 is one of the main moves. Queen c2 also the main move here. a6, as far as I know, is now the most popular, but b5 is getting also popular recently. It was played, if I'm not mistaken, by Jan Nepomniachtchi against Magnus Carlsen in the World Championship match, where Magnus tried rare knight e5, but a4 is the move, yeah, the best according to the theory. And here usually black plays b4. But how about playing c6, which looks very natural? I mean, we are just protecting the pawn. I mean, it's an extra pawn, so it's certainly a sensible move candidate to look at. But it's a blunder. It's a big blunder, and it's been known. I'm not sure how many people has fallen into it, but yeah, it's very typical. So now a takes b5, c takes b5. All looks good, because if some knight e5, there is knight d5, but there is a much better move for white, which wins on the spot, and that's knight to g5. So I think everybody should remember it, whether you play the Catalan as white, or you play the Queen's Gambit, or you play any other opening. I think you should know this, because that's very typical and very easy. So now there is no knight d5, because there is checkmate in 1. And if not knight d5, is there any way to save the rook on a8? I mean, this bishop is pointing at the rook. You cannot play knight c6, you cannot play bishop b7. I mean, these pieces will be captured. So yeah, black's best is to play h6, at least to attack the knight, but then bishop takes a8, h takes g5, bishop takes g5, queen takes d4. So yeah, black gets some pawns here, but yeah, after bishop e3, the pawn on a7 is also falling, and that's essentially, like, I mean, that's just lost for black. So yeah, that's a very typical trap. And the game was still, went till move 30, but nothing was happening there, if I'm not mistaken, and white has just completely winning position. So please remember it. Okay, talking about some opening blunders, also from round 2, I've seen this typical blunder and the King's Indian. White employs a bit rare setup. That's maybe the reason why black did not feel the danger, because usually in those King's Indian structures, black wants to play e5. That's the idea, especially as he played rook e8. However, at this particular moment, that did not work. He could have played maybe c6, then maybe prepare e5, maybe some queen c7, queen a5, actually not possible, c6, queen c7, e5. But he played e5 instantly. And there is some problem with this move, because after d takes e5, white is able to capture on e5. And there goes a pawn. And the idea is that after knight takes e5, we can just trade queens so that the rook, which supported e5 push, needs to move. That's forced. And we just take on e5. And white is a pawn up. Yeah, the engine might argue that here maybe some move like knight c5 or knight e4 gives a little bit of a compensation, so it's not like a completely free pawn. But from a practical perspective, I mean, white is just objectively better, and yeah, it's difficult to prove that compensation. And here in the game, actually, queen e7 was played, just completely accepting being pawned down. He could have played knight d3 now as white, but okay, knight d7 was also good enough, and yeah, just white remained pawn up and won the game. Okay, so some more positions which I found very interesting. So here there was some Maroczy bind where black took early on c3, which is a bit controversial decision, because on one hand white structure is terrible, but on the other hand you may miss this bishop on g7. That's very strong bishop in those, you know, Maroczy bind, or I mean just the dragon kind of structures. And here white played queen h6, which white is undeveloped, so that doesn't feel right. But chess is a very concrete game, so if something works, then it works. So these general principles are just, you know, are some kind of signs, not like rules we need to follow very, very strictly. But I get a feeling like queen h6, I wouldn't believe it works. But let's see, you know, we need to calculate concrete variations. So that was a game Piotr Gasik against Szymon Gmulasz. And Szymon played bishop takes d5. Yeah. So now, of course, if white recaptures, then it's clear. I mean, the queen on d2 was protecting c3, so let's make a move. Like if you go c takes d5, there is queen c3, and that's nothing to calculate actually. But after bishop takes d5, Piotr Gasik was relying on the move queen g7. The queen attacks the rook on h8 and protects the pawn on c3. So this looked interesting idea. And then he can recapture on d5 and it's all fine. But now Szymon played a very nice move. Knight into f6. So he is breaking the communication between the queen and the pawn on c3, leaving the rook on h8 on pre. So that was very interesting. And after queen h8, king d7, you see the queen it's not trapped, but it's under attack. And if you like move on g7, then you know the queen takes c3, and you see white is completely undeveloped. I mean, the rooks are not playing, the king is naked, the bishops are on their original squares, so that's just not a good position. I mean, and the rook on a1 will just fall. So yeah, black is winning here. So in the game, queen c8 was played, but that doesn't help really. I mean, giving up the queen, king takes c8, and still white has those big issues with the development. He took on d5, probably not the best, but bishop d2, bishop e6 is just also bad, because you know black has a queen and a minor piece against two rooks, so it's very good material, and also white structure is terrible. But in the game, c takes d5 was played, then queen takes c3, king d1, and yeah, the rook is hanging on a1, but actually knight d4 was stronger move, because the rook is trapped anyway. I mean, now white resigned, but even if rook b1, then queen c2 picks up the rook, so that's just game over. So yeah, very interesting play, and as you can see, we should but it's better to follow the principles, but if you are not, then you need to calculate very, very precisely, and in this case, queen h6 just did not work, and Szymon Gumulash punished his opponent in a nice style. Right, so yeah, there was one game people requested because there was Bartosz Rudetsky playing against Marcin Molenda. It was very interesting position here where Marcin Molenda he could have just played queen a4, whoops, queen a4, and yeah, he's maybe slightly worse here, but it's not much. I mean, it's just a game. But he got greedy. He got greedy, took the pawn on a2, and then you see this queen, well, took the pawn, but it's not feeling well. Now, after castling, you see all of white's pieces, all of them, are participating in the attack. Like, both rooks are developed. Especially, I mean the rook on b3 is kind of keeping black's queen in cage. The bishops are well placed. The knight is developed, right? The queen is also ready to go somewhere. Rook f1 also exerting some pressure on the half open f file. Like everything is playing well. How about black's pieces? The bishop on g7 is restricted. The rook on f8 is not that active, but okay, maybe it's okay. Rook on a8 is not playing. The bishop on c8 is very bad piece. Knight on d7 also restricted, so he played knight b6, maybe thinking about some knight c4, but now queen c3, whoops, queen c3, with rook a1 as a threat. So he played, Marcin played knight a4, now queen b4 came, so at the moment he is not losing any material, but again, his pieces are pushed far away, and yeah, now like rook a3 is actually a threat. So he played a5, a tempo move, but then there goes a pawn on e7, and it's not just about the pawn, it's about, you know, taking control over some important squares. So yeah, like you see, again, black's pieces are just completely uncoordinated, and white is about to launch a very huge attack. So Marcin played b5, but yeah, now white has many ways to finish, but it has to be said that white played here very well. Bishop takes b5, just grabbing the pawn, bishop takes a6, and now okay, trade, pawn a6, rook a6, and knight g5. So black got rid of his bad bishop, maybe activated his pieces a little bit, but you see, queen is still stuck on a2. The knight on a4 is also out of the game, while white is generating a very direct attack on the black's king. And yeah, black's king has no way to survive here. So rook a8 was okay, maybe I'll use those arrows here. Rook a8 was played, but you see the pawn on f7 is dropping. Rook takes f7, queen takes f7 with a check, king h8, and you know, it looks very ugly, but it's nice how white brings more pieces into the action. Rook b7, you see all white pieces are attacking, and rook g8, and even more attacking. I mean, the knight comes here to e6, and after queen a3, I mean, the bishop was participating from the very beginning, like covering a lot of squares, but it gives, you know, the last shot, I think. It's a nail in black's coffin. Bishop h6, and I think here, yeah, black resigns, so that was it. Okay, I think the next round is about to start, so that's all from me now, and yeah, get back to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for the analysis and the insights of the game. And now we are getting into the one of the last rounds for today. We do have rapid tournament for today's because it's longer time control, and that makes sense as well. Very quickly, I would like to read the pairings for today. For this round, we have about 20, exactly 20 participants with 100 points. And what is really interesting, compared from yesterday, today we have players from around Europe, and we have players from Russia, Poland, Hungary, Ukraine, Latvia, Austria, Germany, Finland, and so on the top 10 boards. And what calls our attention is the first board, Motolev Alexander, 2700 player from Russia against legendary Polish player Michal Krysenko. They will be playing on the first board. I see that they are already at the chessboard, and they're trying to be focused, both of them. They're trying to relax a little bit. I can feel that some of the players might be already tired, and we can take a look now at the playing venue, just to see the overall picture before we go to the commentary team. So here we have the view of the Spodek in Poland, Katowice. This is one of the well-known places in the city where this very venue used to host a lot of sport events, starting from volleyball, basketball, football, and so on. And now we do have a chess event over here. So there were players getting ready, and usually the rounds are starting on time. We don't expect any delay for now, and I see the hands were shaken and they started the new game. So before we go to the to live commentary, I would like to introduce our new pet over here. This is Cat. That we are having for today. If no one comes, then we have a guest here. This is Katowice, and also we have this pawn from yesterday. So thank you so much for being here at Twitch and YouTube channel. You guys can ask us questions. We're here to answer. And now the floor goes to Fiona and Srinath with the chess commentary.
Thank you so much, Katy. I love that name, Katowice. Very, very clever. And Srinath, I guess you are looking forward as much as I am to this top board clash between two very famous, very strong, and very experienced grandmasters, Motilev and Krasenkov.
Absolutely, Fiona. And I see a very interesting all along the top boards. There is a lot of there are a lot of boards where it's a grandmaster clash. There are grandmasters on both the boards, and so there is a Emil Murzoev against Balog on the second board, Dragnev against Friedman on the fourth board, and also on the sixth board we have a couple of grandmasters fighting it out. So I think it's going to be a very interesting round, and from here onwards it is going to be as Ilya wanted for himself. It's going to be clashes against all the top players, and it's also the time when people do start to tire a bit, because even in the World Rapid we have only 5 games a day, and this is already the 5th round and they have to play one more game after this.
Actually, let me ask you before we dive into the game, will you be playing in the World Rapid and Blitz?
No, I really wanted to play, and I had registered and booked my flight tickets to Nur Sultan. But when the venue changed, it became too cumbersome for me. Then I had to get a new visa, to book new tickets, and I felt that it was not worth the trouble. And it's also a very scary field of participants to play against. I looked at the tentative players list which FIDE put out, and the second last seed was Gukesh, the second from the bottom, and he was rated 2000.
That's incredible.
So I think I'll play my next.
Yeah, sorry,
I think I'll play my next World Rapid and Blitz after FIDE sorts out this rating mess, because right now I'm just going to go there and donate my rating.
So hopefully by next year, you can play. And let's dive in
Hopefully.
to the game. I'll keep my fingers crossed. Let's dive into the game between Motilev and Krasenkov.
It's the modern defense and e4 g6. Here, curiously, after d4 bishop g7 knight c3, there are I think a few different ways to play as black. d6 is probably one of the most popular moves, and black delays knight f6 for a reason, to usually not allow this bishop to h6. And with this pawn structure, black can either play with a6 or c6. And this is one of the main positions that can start from 1 e4 g6. But on the other hand, Krasenko goes for 3 c6, and here he goes with the intention to place his pawn on d5, which goes into a very different pawn structure. This is something Krasenko goes for from time to time. He plays this a lot in the open tournaments as well against people with slightly lesser rating. White gets a lot of space advantage in these positions, but it's very easy to misplay that space advantage. It's very easy to overextend yourself, and people with a relatively less lower rating, relatively less rating, they tend to misplay positions with such positions quite a lot. So it can be very effective against them, and it can be a very effective way to just try and get a game in general. White continued with e5.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when one e4 player is white, and the modern or all these structures have sort of been some of the most challenging openings for me to face as white, especially when you play them against opponents who are so experienced and so familiar with the structures. I had a funny game many years ago. I think roughly 10 years ago, I played against Tiger Hilach Persson, who wrote the famous Tiger's Modern book. And so he played the modern against me, and guess for how many moves, Trinat, he didn't cross the 6th rank with one of his pawns.
20?
Even, I think 23. And I was getting so desperate because I had already completed my development, occupied the center, all these things that you're supposed to do, put my king into safety. And he was just shuffling. And it was a very funny game. I lost in the end, but actually he even put the game in his book after. But yeah, in general, I find it very tough because you never know exactly as white, or at least I don't know when is the right moment to break in the center or to exchange. Where should I put this piece, that piece? And it feels like the opponents, when they are so familiar, I find it a very tricky opening, and especially in faster time controls, I think it can be even more effective.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Fiona, and I think that's something we both have in common. I've also been a victim of the Tiger's Modern against the man himself. So
sorry, what did you say? You also...
I've also lost against Hilar.
He's a tough man.
In the modern.
A tough man to face in the modern, yes.
Indeed.
So, sorry, let's continue.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. And as soon as white played e5, black got his knight to f5, the weak square. I mean, the square weakened by the pawn on e5. And here white couldn't play g4. He did not have time, because then black would play knight g3 and then take this bishop on f1 and then try to break with h5. And this wouldn't be good for white. So he had to cover it up with king f2, which he can do because it is a position with close center. So it's not going to be easy for black to break through and get his pieces near white's king. So for this reason, it is quite safe to get the king to f2. Black goes h5. partially to cement this knight on f5, prevent white from playing g4, which was a threat. And white here played a very instructive strategic move. Black was threatening to play h4, and after black plays h4, white would never be able to touch this g pawn, and black also gets access to the strategic point on g3. So in these situations, it's always useful to play g3 in order to meet h4 with g4 when the appropriate time comes. And this is not as bad for white, because after h4, g4, knight g3, even if black captures the bishop, uh, this pawn has already been committed to h4. So black doesn't have the option to break with h5 and weaken this g4 point. So white would just continue on and push his pawns on the king side.
And is that we didn't catch up? We did catch up with the live position or not yet? Yeah, no, not yet. Or sorry, I'm completely confused.
Yeah, we did catch
So
up. We did
F6.
catch up with the position.
Okay, so we'll and what? How do you size the position we have here? Before we move on, I spotted some H pawn being launched up the board elsewhere, so I was getting excited.
I think white is better here, as Stockfish says. It's because of superior space, and these kind of positions are also seen in the Caracan advanced variation. If you see, it's a very similar structure, and white has got a good version of it. So white would protect the d4 point, and then white's eventual plan is to push his pawns on the king side. So he has to find a way to do this in a concrete way, but usually it involves bishop d3 to get the bishop out, then the knight comes to e2, pawn to c3, and then g4 and f5. And black, if he takes on d4, I think bishop e3 is a problem. And that's just bishop g6 check and queen into d4.
Oh, immediately, yeah. Yeah, so this looks like a very pleasant and probably already some advantage for Motilev. Srinath, can I take you away from there and go to the game that I was so excited about from the corner of my eye? Felix Bloberger, who yesterday was the first player to take a draw off Duda, is playing with the white pieces against Donchenko. And actually just now the bar has shut up, so let's see what is going on there. Just after the last black move, the bar skyrocketed. Maybe we can go back just a few moves. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes,
I mean, the game's only started 10 minutes ago.
Indeed, we had another London system, which is what happened in Motilev's previous game, and in the previous game, Alexander went for knight h5, bishop g5, f6. We saw that variation. Bishop d6 is an option for black here, and now after bishop g3, short castle, can have the bishop on d3 or b5. In general, both the moves are. In general, black wants to try and get this pawn e5 in order to free his c8 bishop, and after bishop d3 b6, white plays e4 exactly to play against that. He wants to put his own pawn on e5 and block black from developing freely. So black went back bishop e7, e5, knight h5, and here I'm already a bit lost as to what the best moves are. And probably this is what happened to Donchenko as well. He probably got lost somewhere in his memory. And white had this very strong move, knight g5. Pretty curious to see the timestamps to see how quickly black played here. But it looks like he probably mixed up something. Bishop into g5, queen into h5. g6 is a normal move here. Queen e2. And after c into d4, this position already looks very dangerous to me for black. But apparently Stockfish has some way to defend this, and if you remember it and if you're familiar with it, you wouldn't face any problems over the board. But I'm not sure if that was the case for Donchenko in this game, and he probably missed some detail somewhere. So after king g7, the bar rises, knight f3, bishop b7, h into g6. And here the problem, I believe, is that white gets bishop h4, bishop f6, kind of more or less by force. If black captures back h into g6, then after bishop h4, bishop into f6 is a threat. And now after g5, I would already be looking at all the sacrifices related to this.
Yeah.
Bishop into g5 or knight into g5. And it feels like something's got to give here. And if black
We might
plays
see this actually
f,
because black took with the h pawn.
oh, did he?
And
I was expecting fg6, but I think this is worse because then you lose the h7 pawn with a check, and then the b7 bishop also falls in this variation after bishop into g5, bishop into g5, rook into h7 check, and rook into b7. I guess that's probably why he thought h into g6 was the lesser evil. But again,
yeah,
a
exactly. I
very
mean,
difficult choice.
yeah, and maybe we can have another look here at this line after bishop h4. I guess there's just nothing Felix is thinking, and it's normal to take his time here to try and calculate. But I'm sure he will be looking at bishop h4.
Yes, and Fiona, these type of situations where black has, I mean, one side has a very difficult choice to make. Back in the days, they used to call it out from the frying pan into the fire, and I would call it something like out from the bomb cloud into the B3. It's such a difficult choice, and
Yeah.
both of them not good choices. So bishop
And here it
h4,
is.
g5.
Or did he? I know you made the move. Sorry, I thought he
No,
had made it.
not yet.
So g5 is the only move, right? Otherwise, the bishop comes into. Oh, he didn't play.
Yeah, I think g5 is
Didn't
the only
play.
move, and here I'm trying to
Oh
find a way to finish it
wow!
off with white.
Felix has gone
Did it
for a
happen?
more radical approach, just taking on h6
Ha!
immediately.
Okay, this is very clever. Black has just lost on the dark squares. The bishop goes to f6, queen e3, knight g5, queen h3, and it's game over. So black has to sacrifice a queen in order to stay in the game, and he might as well resign.
And what a game this will be by Felix Blogerberg. I mean, Alexander Donchenko, very strong grandmaster, as we mentioned. But here, I mean, this was, I don't know what went wrong. I think I agree with you that Donchenko probably mixed up some lines because we can see he still has 11 minutes on the clock, so he has barely used any of his time. So clearly, maybe a problem of misremembering. The players, as you mentioned, are also getting tired for sure, but this is quite the demolition, maybe one of the biggest demolitions we have seen today.
Sorry, I lost you. I lost your voice towards the end of it.
I was just saying that this is probably the biggest demolition that we have seen today. I mean, such a crushing victory. I love. I'm good friends with Donchenko, so of course I feel sad for him. But it's just a brilliant game by Bloberger.
Absolutely, Fiona. Perfect, flawless game. And also, let's not forget that Felix was completely lost in the previous round, yeah? And he managed to save that. And now he's beating Donchenko in a very important game and moving on to the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. He's gonna race to 5 out of 5. And meanwhile, we can move on. Where shall we go? Maybe let's go back to the top boards. We can have a look at board 2, maybe Emil Mirzoev against Imre Balogh.
The board 2.
Oh, sorry, you had picked another.
No, I went to the first board and then I came to the second. But I like
We can
White's
also, up
position
to
here.
you. I'll let you decide. You like White's position?
Yes, Fiona, because White is going to get f4 and 2 moves. White has a
What's
good
there not to
center.
like if we get... Hmm?
Internet connection is,
I
so
know.
sketchy.
We're so sorry, Get. Apologies to our viewers. Srinet and I are not meaning to talk over each other so much, but we always hear each other with some small delay, hence why sometimes it looks like there's some communication problems, but we are trying our best. And Srinet, I'm on board with your idea of getting an F4 here.
Lovely. And it looks like White, ML is also on board with us. He goes knight h2, which makes even more sense than knight d4 because the knight has these target squares on h6. And next up is going to be f4. This position would be all right for black if he had the bishop on g7. But without that bishop on g7, it is very difficult for black. The dark squares are all undefended, and white gets f4, f5, knight g4, rook g3, knight to h6. f7 would be in trouble. The bishop on b7 not quite into the game. Knight on d7 and knight on c5, treading on each other's hooves. Very nice position for white.
Indeed. I think maybe we can just keep moving for now. We can keep moving down the boards. On board 3, we have 2 players we haven't seen at all so far. Tomasz Laurusas from Lithuania against Piotr Brodowski from Poland. So let's check out these 2 new names for us.
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch the names.
Sorry?
I couldn't catch the names.
And I was wanted to move to the 3rd board. I was saying we haven't seen them so far, Laurusas and Brodowski.
Got it. That's the 4th board on my screen. Also, a very nice position for white. Good center, good space advantage. In these situations where the white has a pawn on d5 and black has a pawn on e7, it's always a bit better for white. It's a better pawn structure. This pawn on e7 always comes under pressure, and white just builds up this pressure with bishop d4, rook e1, bishop f1. The rooks double on the e file, and you just need to watch out for this b5, which can be prevented with a4, which is already adequately prevented. But if you need an extra protection, you can do it with a4. It's a very tough position to play as black here.
Sorry, I think I got disconnected again. But yeah, position, I agree with you, is looking very nice for white. Always nice to play with this space advantage with all these active pieces. So this is looking very promising indeed for white, although black is still fine at the moment. Just, I would say, a lot more pleasant to play. And maybe we can move now. I think that's the last game that's on the podium. It's Valentin Dragnev from Austria playing against Daniel Friedman from Germany.
We have that game on the screen, and it looks again like a menacing attack for white, but I think in truth it has been neutralized. I wouldn't say it has been neutralized since it's an attack in progress, but I think black has it under control. There is this pawn on h6, but there is really no way for the queen to get onto f6 for the moment. It's not going to happen in the near future, and white does not have nearly enough weaknesses on black's territory to take advantage of this. On the other hand, Black does have a real counterplay on the queen side. He has this semi-open c file, and in the future, if this light square bishop has to be traded to one of Black's knights after knight e4, for example, that's a realistic scenario. The c2 pawn can come under pressure. So I think it's a bit of a balanced position, but it yeah, I think it's a bit of a balanced position. Initially, it looks like an initiative for white, but black has it under control, and I think e5 is a very nice move. It really liberates black's pieces, brings more of his pieces into the game. Stockfish doesn't agree with me, but I like e5.
Yeah, well, we will see this one. Yeah, one of the more balanced games actually we have seen here in this fifth round. Shall we also? I don't know why this round. Sorry, I make you jump around a lot. At first, I wanted to let the viewers know that Igor Kovalenko has already won his game, so a very quick win with the black pieces. And you know what, Srinat? For a change, I will let you choose where to go next. I'll let you pick any game of your liking.
Oh yeah, I can hear only parts of what you're saying, Fiona. But what I last heard was that you will let me choose a game of my liking, and Kovalenko has won his game.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's yeah, that was hard work, but I managed to decipher it, and I'm just scrolling through the games on. I'm just scrolling through the games of this tournament. Maybe a quick look back on board two, where at the moment
Sure.
Black has managed to prevent White from playing f4, but it's going to happen in the next one or two moves, Fiona. So I just wanted to bring us to this moment where White gets f4 in, and right now it's probably not possible because Black takes queen into h3, but start with h4 maybe and then f4. King g2 also works all the same. So I think if we had to do a roundup, Alexander's better in his game against Krasenko. At the moment, Black has just played h4, but I think White has two ways of responding here. He can just take this knight and then take the pawn on h4. And for the materialistic people, this probably looks the most attractive, but Black will
Exactly,
have
like
some
for
compensation.
me. I would do this immediately. See a pawn, take a pawn.
It's not a bad strategy in general, but in this case there might be some potential counterplay. I'm not sure about c5, but it looks tempting to me. And the idea is to try and come towards White's king. As I mentioned earlier about this game, as the center was, it was safe to keep our king outside of the normal castle. But now, with the things opening up, it can get potentially dangerous. So that would have been one option. That would be one option, but I'm not sure if Mutile would go for that. He didn't go for that. In fact, he played g4, which is actually what I was considering. The point being that if Black takes knight into d4, this was what I was perplexed about, how White manages to get some advantage here. And I still haven't figured this out because after bishop e3, I think Black has c5, saving the knight. After
But can we not then take
knight,
on d5?
yes, you could, but I'm not sure if that would be. Oh, that is a pretty big advantage. Knight into d5, and initially I thought White was just getting back the pawn, but bishop c4 is very strong, and there are all kinds of threats. And Black's king is very vulnerable if this bishop gets onto this diagonal. So I think this is the point. Bishop e3.
Yes. Might be, and this is what's the position on the board? Krasenkov has taken on d4, so we will see now. Are we going to see this bishop e3 move? What is Motilev going to do?
He goes knight a4, which is also what I was trying to make work. But after queen a5, I didn't immediately see what is the problem for black. It really feels like there should be something here, though. Maybe bishop d2 is the move, queen into a4, and now after b3, the black queen does not have a square. But no, no, no. This gives up potentially too many pieces. So I'm not entirely sure what exactly is the concrete problem here for black. I guess we just wait for
We're about
Motilev
to
to show
see,
this.
probably, yeah.
But it certainly feels like there is something. It certainly feels you get the sense that there should be something happening here.
Yes.
Something feels wrong for black, but it needs to be concretely calculated. And I still
Let's
don't see
see.
it. Krosenko didn't probably see it. He had very little
So,
time anyway to figure this out. And
so now after queen a4,
Motilev made some move, and then black took bishop into e5. I couldn't see what move he took bishop into g6, bishop into e5.
interesting.
I guess the problem is just black's strategic piece positioning. No, bishop e3 is not a good move. Maybe knight f3
But
here. No, knight f3
I'm
is a
sorry,
terrible move.
Srinat, but
It's
why
not an easy
has,
position,
yeah,
Fiona.
what? But I'm sorry, but what happened here? Why did the bar, or is my game not working? What happened?
I have no I don't understand. After knight f3, why bishop into g4? Bishop into g4 is the move. Okay, okay.
Oh,
Bishop into g4.
wow. Wow.
I was also confused, I thought the bar was acting weird, but it looks like both the players have
Yeah.
missed bishop into g4.
And I mean,
Because
what
that
a
can happen
turnaround
with
that would have been.
absolutely. That would have led to, I think, a very quick resignation from white, if Krasenko had spotted bishop into g4.
And it's actually this
Typical
bishop
mutual
g4.
blindness.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit this full board vision because the queen on a4 is so far away from the action on the king side that sometimes it's just hard to see the piece, the bishop from c8 and the queen from a4. They're both so far away from this pawn board that sometimes I think it's just hard to have this full board awareness.
Yes, and also the psychological aspect, white is the
Yeah.
one hunting, black is the one being hunted, and people, I mean, during the board, you have this impression that you're the one being hunted, you're defending, and now he takes bishop into g4, but that's probably a bit. But what did white play here? He played rook e1. Did
Looks
this
like
happen in
it.
the game?
Oh, and it's
Oh, this happened. This happened, Fiona. Alexander missed
wow.
this
Oh my
completely.
God. Oh my
He
God.
did
And
not
now
have
we have the
the.
camera. He
Yes,
just missed it
and this is
completely.
such a terrible position for white.
And but it's great to see that Krasenko, he missed the chance once, but then Motilev gave him the chance again. Like, so this mutualness that you're talking about, it lasted one more move. And the second time Krasenko said, this time I'm not gonna miss my chance. I will snatch away that pawn on g4.
Indeed, all he needed was a few moments to pass, gather himself, and he spotted it. Whereas the first time after knight f3, he kind of reacted instantly. But then after a pass, it became clear, and now the game has turned around completely. It's black who's hunting, white who's the hunted, and I'm wondering if rook into f3 works here. Rook into f3, rook f8. Ah, no, this doesn't work because white takes rook into f8 with check, and this would reverse the. So it's still a very messy and complicated position. It's still not clearly winning for black, but black needs to try and simplify this game. I would start with bishop f5, trade one of the pieces inside, and try and bring in more pieces into the game.
The only thing that Krasenkov maybe has to watch out for is the time. Of course, with the 10-second increment, that's a lot. But still, he's now down to only 40 seconds. But he plays the move bishop f5, which is, I think, a very nice move.
Yes, the bishop on g6 was controlling a lot of squares like e4, and this gives black access to these squares. Black will want to bring in his pieces as quick as possible because the white king on g2 is very, very unsafe right now. And bishop f5 is probably one of the easiest and quickest moves to do that. The refusal to agree for the trade with bishop h5 would be met with bishop e4. So he had to take the bishop, which is what he did. And we have bishop into f5, rook into f5, and queen e2 played. Queen e2, I'm thinking just rook f8. Bring a new piece into the game. Queen into e7 would be met by queen c2 check. And he played e5, which is
also, yeah, there is always, I guess he can always bring the rook still on the next move. The problem is now white not only lost a pawn, but suddenly, as you say, he is not the hunter anymore. He is being hunted. And the problem is all his pieces, the rook, and they were still not even playing. So it's just very, very difficult for white here to engineer any kind of counterplay at all.
Indeed, Fiona. After b3, which is what I expected, I'm wondering if black's best move is queen to e4. No, this is not a good move. This messes up the pawn structure. So he has to go queen a5. This is the only remaining move. But
I guess also
this
the
would
pawn
allow
was
some
hanging,
knight into
on
h4.
h4.
So black, what is black's move here? It doesn't seem like there's an easy move in sight. He played queen to b5. Yeah, this is the only move by the process of elimination. Queen a5, there was knight into h4, queen e4 messes up the pawn structure. And he had to go for queen into b5, queen into b5 taken, c into b5, and I think Krasenko is going to win this. He's up by 2 pawns. His technique is very good. He gives back one of the pawns, but now rook h5, knight g6, because knight f3 there's e4. So rook h5, knight g6, and now rook e8, I guess. No, he takes on f1.
Oh yeah, so he swapped the rooks instead. But I agree with you. Also now the players the time is even. It is only one extra pawn, but those central pawns and the power of the bishop on g7, the white knight is out of play on c4, the white king is naked. There's so many factors which make that black is in fact more points up than just the extra pawn.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think now it would be really nice if we can prevent this rook from coming into the game, which is not happening anyway, but white might try to get some c4 in. The knight on h4 is effectively out of the game for now, and black can prevent this with king h7 potentially. He goes knight c5. I guess knight g6 now. Yeah, knight g6 played and rook
So
f7
that
on the
happened
board.
and rook f7.
it's still very hard for white to get any of his pieces out because the problem is essentially the rook, and c4 can be met with knight into b3, which is probably why he played
Yeah.
the knight to c5. Bishop e3, there is d4, so it's difficult to make
I
a
mean,
move as white.
it's such a depressing position. This rook on a2 is such a sad rook. And actually, we could see, the whole time we had the camera on Motilev, and a few times we saw him shake his head just in disbelief because he had such a nice, close to winning position. And that's how fast it can go in chess. Even those top grandmasters, nobody is safe from missing a tactical shot like bishop takes g4, and it's like a one move turnaround. And we just see the disbelief of Motilev shaking his head.
Yes, he was in complete control. He was completely better as white, and he had a great position. He missed knight g4 once. His opponent, sorry, he missed bishop g4 once. Krasenko did not see it, but the second time it was too much.
Srinath,
But yeah, that feel. Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but do you want to hear something both shocking and funny? Alexander
Sure.
Alexander Donchenko is completely winning in his game against Felix Bloberger.
What? How did this happen?
I have
He was
no idea. I
completely
thought the
lost
game was
earlier.
almost over. I know. Unbelievable.
I thought that
Maybe
as
we
well.
can. What we will do, we will watch the
This
end
was the
of board
position.
one, maybe. I know. What we will do,
Yes,
let's watch the end of the Krasenkov game, and then we will come back and have a look to see what the hell happened there.
absolutely.
And this one will be
We are
over,
back
I
here.
guess, also quite. Sorry? Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. I think it's going to take a while because Motilev is fighting this one. He's managed to bring his rook out, and yes, black is still completely winning, but white is going to resist for as long as he can. And with these situations where both players have a few seconds remaining, I wouldn't be entirely sure of the final result either. I think white still has some saving chances because of the time situation primarily.
Yeah, because also, okay,
Oh,
the black, suddenly the
there's
white
a
pieces
nice
are quite
trick.
active.
Yeah, look at this. Krasenko probably thought king h7 traps the knight, but Motilev had knight h4 here, which is what he played in the game. The point being, after knight into h4, rook h5 check, the knights get traded, and you can see already the bar is not as high as it was initially for black. So some resistance here. A lot has improved in white's position. The rook, which was kind of imprisoned, it has broken out from its prison, and the knight, which looked hopeless, it's not doing as bad as it was. I think there's some real hope for Alexander now.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair to him, he has fought extremely valiantly. This sad rook from a2 is suddenly, in the center of the board, sort of cutting the king along the fifth rank. And always those tricky knights in the fast time controls. Also, the white king is now a lot more active than the black counterpart. And we see Krasenkov shaking his head. He knows that he has given Motilev way more chances here than he should have.
Yes, I think this knight into d2 was a mistake and a panic move. He probably had to play. I think he had to take this anyway and go into this endgame and try and take this pawn. But it was not easy. And knight into d2, king into d2, bishop d4, rook c4, this particular position. The problem is the white knight gets a very nice square on f5, and black doesn't have anything on the light squares. So the counterplay, White has proper counterplay now, and it's going towards a draw.
Incredible. What a crazy game. I mean, first White was winning, then Black was winning. Now, would you say a draw is maybe a fair result in this game?
I wouldn't think so, because I think Krasenko. I mean, it is a fair result. Whatever happens is the fair result because it happens for the reason. But uh, I think Krasenko would be more disappointed with the draw than Alexander, because
Absolutely, I
White had
think
a
for
very nice
sure.
position, but White was not winning. But Black was winning.
But okay, Black is also still pressing. It's not over just yet. So let's see. Maybe he doesn't have to be disappointed just yet. Also, the players are both down to their last seconds. And now we get these pure Rook endings, Renat.
Yes, and I think things have turned around a bit once again. I'm not sure if Alexander intended to go for this, because these two connected pawns, they are very annoying to face, and very effective as well. It's so much easier to roll them forward. I think Alexander is in real trouble once again. Now Rook B4 is a threat in the game position. H4, H4,
Maybe
A4.
we can look
The
with the
H pawn
big
is too
camera,
slow.
actually. What do you think?
Yes, and you can also see the difference in the body language. Yes, Krasenko knows that this is winning. It's not quite a theoretical position, but he knows the technique in this position. And this pawn on H4, it's not really helping White gain any rapid counterplay. Black also has a lot more time as we zoom in. Does he have more than a minute?
Is that 1 second? Did he flat? No. Sorry, I was seeing some ghosts. But it was very. Oh, okay, it was 6 seconds still. No, 5 seconds. Okay, but
Yes.
yes, okay.
Motilev tries to
He
set up
manages.
a mating net, but I
Sorry.
think just B4 now. B4,
Yeah, and we see
and
that.
then if the pawn gets to B3, then it's over.
But how do you stop it?
I don't think you can stop it. Next, the pawn goes to A2 after Rook G2. And the problem for White is that he has this hedge passer, so he's trying to set up this perpetual check with Rook A8 check, Rook A7 check, but the Black King simply goes to H7. So I think he can carry on with Rook G2. Rook G1. The idea is to play B3, B2 and take the B1 square under control. And after Rook A8 check, King H7, Rook A7 check, there is King H6. I think it's over for White here.
And we were talking about, would a draw be a fair result? You said Krasenkov will be more disappointed, but he's not going to have any reason to be disappointed. He is going to win this Rook endgame after all, and there Motilev jumping. I guess that move, I didn't see the clock, but did you see how he jumped? It must have been 1
Now
second,
a Rook.
basically.
Yes, this was his final trick. And if Black had taken King into H5, he had a Rook H8 check and Rook G8 and taking the Rook, which would still be lost, I think, with 2 pawns on the 6th rank. But Krasenko just had to give this Rook F1 check, and the Black King is no longer in the mating net, and I think he would resign. Yes, there we have it.
Yeah, here is the resignation. And what a result for Mikhail Krasenkov on his home turf in Katowice, Poland, beating the top seed Motilev with the black pieces. A huge congratulations. He was under a lot of pressure, but then found this nice bishop takes a g4 shot, ended up in a winning position, gave Motilev some chances, but in the end got a Rook ending with an extra pawn and managed to convert. Incredible stuff. Srinat, maybe I was thinking we will leave, I think, the Donchenko game to Piotr in the break to show us what happened there. Let's stick with the live games. We can go to Dragnev against Daniel Friedman, maybe.
Your wish is my command, Fiona. We already have the board on the screen. And it looks like in these kind of situations in general, I would favor the two rooks, because if the two rooks attack any of white's pawns, then the two rooks are going to win a pawn, and white would at best be able to defend with the king and the queen, but the two rooks would take a pawn, and but the problem here for black is how exposed his king is. So white just requires one tempo to constantly give a repetition of checks, and he keeps his king as much towards the safest square as possible, not bringing it towards the center. And black has nothing better than to repeat the moves here. Any move that he makes, white is going to start giving this avalanche of checks, and black will not be able to prevent it.
Absolutely. So we'll probably see a draw here, but actually, I'm just scrolling through the top games. I mean, almost everything is ending decisively. We see so much fighting chess in this tournament. I see that Teufel Keinanen has won another game, this time against Hannes Stefansson. So he's still on a perfect score, I think. I'm sure Ketty and Piotr will update us on all the results. This game, okay, we can just wait until we should see a handshake here any moment. Most games have finished. Vasif Durabaili is also still playing, but it's not more exciting than this. It's a opposite colored bishop endgame, which should just be a simple draw. We can wait here, Swinat, for the handshake and see if after that if there's still anything going on.
Indeed, Fiona. And even if black takes rook into g4 here, white will have queen f8 check and non-stop checks. The black king cannot go to h4. He cannot run this far because this would end in a checkmate after queen into h7. And king g6 out here would also lead to queen g8 check. So it all comes down to the same thing. And now we see the shake of hands in a couple of moves.
Indeed, and but Dragnev didn't want to. Did you see that? Sumets. Okay, and there is the draw after all. Sumets has had this face of why am I still here? Why is he not immediately agreeing draw? But there we are, and let's see now. Is anything? Vasif is still trying. We can open his game. Vasif Durabaili against David Janaszak. But I am not clear on what he is trying. He's trying to activate the king, I guess. Oh, no, draw agreed.
This would be a very nice position to try and win in these non-incremental online chess games where you try to flag your opponent. And Andrew Tang is supposedly the best professional at this.
Indeed, I think he would easily win with either color. We still have a couple of games going on. We have another rook ending. Maybe we can have a quick look at Andreas Diermeier from against Rafael against Rafael Kowalczyk.
I'm sorry, I lost the name of the first player there.
Andreas Diermeier from Austria.
Okay, let me see where this is. Yeah, I got it. Oh, nice! It's a comfortable winning endgame. With 2 pawns more. Were you saying something, Fiona?
Yeah, I was saying that, we could watch the end of this endgame, which is probably just quite easily winning, but I was getting sidetracked that we will have a very exciting show during the next break as Petra and Anna will do a puzzle session on the big screen. So that's something to look forward to. So I don't know if we should watch the end of this game or if we should just go to Ketty and Piotr.
If we are watching, there's also Goodmundo who's playing right now, yes? Or is the game live? Oh no, it's a draw.
Oh,
It just
it
hasn't
was.
updated.
It just finished because, yeah, it was still going a second ago. You know what? I think we will hand over to Piotr and Katy, and Srinat and I will be back in it for round 6, the last round of the day. So we will see you then.
Welcome back at the studio here in Katowice in Spodek. You guys, so many things are happening over here. Even though the players are tired, we are also quite tired. Now we decided to bring some show for you to just, just to bring some emotion. So on the big screen, Peter has a friend, Anna Kubicka, who will do Puzzle Rush, 3 minutes Puzzle Rush or 5 minutes Puzzle Rush. You'll get more information about that from Peter. And just before the restaurant for today, we're going to have a little bit of fun. And then I'll come back with some stories from this Spodek. So, Peter, it's your time.
For this break, we are going to present something a little bit different. We will do some Puzzle Rush with Anna, who is playing here in this tournament, and between the breaks, she's training. So maybe let's see how it looks like. I don't know if you guys have ever tried the Puzzle Rush, so I will explain how it works. So Anna, could you... I'm not sure if probably they don't hear you. Katy needs to bring the microphone. Okay, and we will do a show.
Hello,
The show.
I would like to tell you that it's first time today when I'm doing such Puzzle Rush on such a big screen. So it is not as easy as it looks like, because we have to use our fingers to move it, and to make one long move. It's so hard, but let's try it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start. So Anna, maybe stay here. I will stay here. Okay. 5 minutes, and let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. I will be trying to help you, but
it will be Rook H8 checkmate.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think it's quite easy.
Yeah, because those back rank mates, yeah, people don't hear that well. I will comment. So back rank checkmates are very, very typical for those Puzzle Rush, and yeah. Usually you need to check the moves well with the check, because then the mate can follow, and this is the most typical checkmate, like on the first rank. So you first give a check, push the king to the corner, and then give mate. So this is the most typical. Yeah, okay. Sometimes we need to see that our king is under check, and usually when we are solving, we don't even see all the pieces on the board. Chess players are just working on instincts here, so it's a good training, especially for the Blitz. Like for the classical, maybe some harder exercises are recommended. There is a survival mode on chess.com, and this one I may recommend. Okay, how is it going? 16 points so far. Quite okay.
But it's so hard to make quick moves.
Okay. We have a guest. I'm not sure if he knew that we are live. Probably did not. Okay. Again, you see, these are easy combinations that chess players can solve within just a few seconds. But okay, now okay. Maybe I will stay here, because actually I'm here. The people cannot see the board, but you can see, like, within already 2 minutes, Anna has solved 20 puzzles, and all of them are correct. So
Is it like you?
yes, and checkmate. That's okay. Queen a2, and Rook coming, giving checkmate. So again, moves with the check. Check, 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 and that's good.
Oh, it's not auto-perfect. Okay, probably.
If somebody is not playing chess, he would be like completely amazed that chess players can see it like very, very fast. But as I said, we are working on instincts. Like we saw those motifs before. I mean, so and there is limited number of motifs. I mean, of course, each and every position is different, and there are like not exactly countless, but it's impossible actually for the human being to count all possible possibilities in chess. There are like it's hard to tell exact number. I know that it's more than atoms in the universe. So chess is really such a complex game, but some of the tactical motives are limited. I mean, so there are different situations, and then we just need to calculate, and that's how we solve those exercises. So queen g4, and then bring the pawn h7, but then check on e5, I guess.
Okay,
So maybe even first check on g7, so that there is no queen e5.
Okay,
But then we just hide.
and here and
Or so then king g3.
yeah, king g3. That's brilliant.
See, we are just calculating the variations, going very, very fast, but we can manage.
Here, I don't know.
So if you can solve so many exercises, then if you play the game, even a blitz game, like you have a 3 minutes plus 2 seconds, it's still a lot of time. And in a chess player's mind, we can calculate so many variations, during quite a short period. Like within a few seconds, we need to see many variations which they go through our head, even much more than we can talk about. We just calculate something, we can speak about this, but subconsciously even more things are happening, more calculation coming there. So how to win here?
I think something like
Bishop h3, and there should
there
be,
is no checkmate.
yeah, there's just one check, king,
F8, or yes, king f8, king g8,
yeah,
king h7.
yeah, just hide the king,
Okay.
and the knight can protect.
Oh, I think it's
Maybe take or not?
or not queen.
No, queen e5, there's no take on
But
I-
wait, here.
king e7.
But what?
Oh, that was the last one.
Oh.
So we could have gambled.
Okay, but
We can analyze the last one for the viewers. So maybe you can stay like so people can see. I mean, the other side,
Yeah.
so people can see. So this is the last puzzle
Okay, so
Anna did not manage to solve. So now maybe we can,
it was like bishop h3.
because
I think
we need
have to click play.
go to the analysis mode.
Yes.
So let's explain why bishop h3, because we are trying to give a checkmate on g2. So that's a very typical motif. Like you see, there's this hole on g2,
Okay, so of course
king f8,
yeah.
knight e8. We have
Here we're going to take it or not take it. That's the question. Because after g8 is queen.
king g8, queen would take on
Yeah,
e8,
and
king
king
h7.
And that's the question. Is there any checkmate? I don't think so. Like,
It also looks good.
okay, but after king takes bishop,
People, I'm not sure if people hear you, but I can say, like, if we take king takes e7, then there is some check. When we are always afraid, well, of checks, right? Because then maybe white has some perpetual, but we need to try to calculate it concretely. So king e7, queen takes b7, check, and then we go back to f8, and the only check I can see is, I mean, the only
But
checks
you know-
is queen e7 or queen f7, which are not working.
king, queen, can I
But but there's queen b4.
knight f6 and queen e4, and there's no checkmate.
Okay, so slowly I will say king takes e7, queen takes b7 check, king goes to f8, queen b4 check, and then if the knight will move with the checks, which will be possible, queen can go back to e4, and well, let's see that white has some material advantage, so he can give some material back. That's why probably king g8 wins, right?
Yes. Okay. Oh no, we were wrong.
We were wrong. So that was harder.
Can we just wait for it?
And
No, king f8.
oh, and
Oh, and that's
and
maybe
So we were wrong, and now we will check why we were wrong. Oh, so let's see. Oh, we need to go into the analysis mode here. So let's just analyze this. So bishop h3, that was all very natural. Here, oops, not here. Okay, so here, and there was this, and the point was that here, king f8, queen b4, and
after king g8 there's no knight c6.
yeah, there is no queen e4.
Yeah.
So that's why this line was winning. But I think we need to go back to other studio. So just one line we can show is that after was it knight e8, bishop e7, why this was not working? Because there is knight f6 immediately. Okay, that was a little bit tricky, but yeah, I hope you saw that we can have some fun. Maybe you couldn't follow like everything closely, but recommended Puzzle Rush for training. Okay, back to you.
Over half of the world's population lives in cities. While each city is unique, they face similar challenges, including pollution, the climate crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic. The exchange of ideas to address urban challenges, such as improved housing, basic services, and green spaces, is critical. The World Urban Forum, known as WUF, is the largest global gathering on sustainable urbanization. The forum is convened by UN Habitat every 2 years. In 2022, WUF 11 will be the city of Katowice in Poland with the theme Transforming Our Cities for a Better Urban Future. WUF 11 in 2022 will explore solutions to make cities safer, greener, and a better place to live. This is a transformation that Katowice itself has experienced. WUF 11 is organized by UN Habitat, Poland's Ministry of Development Funds and Regional Policy, and the city of Katowice. We are building the cities of the future today. Join us in 2022 and be at the heart of this change.
We are back after Puzzle Rush that Anna and Peter just did on the big screen. I hope you guys enjoyed with that. And here we have once again a guest in the studio, and we have Maya and Dog back at our studio. So Maya, tell us, how do you enjoy to play chess tournament in here? Do you like it?
Yes,
What do you like the most?
I like the most.
Like people?
Yeah, I like people.
Alright, that's so nice. And have you played before chess tournament, or this is your first tournament?
First.
First tournament, so nice. And tell me, like, do your brother and do you play also at home chess, or not so much?
Lot chess. Like my brother.
Your
brother.
He's older, right? And he plays really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you planning to be a chess player?
I don't know.
You don't know. What do you like to do besides chess?
Like to do
I know what you like to do. Dance.
like no, I like dance. But yeah.
And how about singing? You dance and sing as well at the same time? Or you prefer to play some chess instead?
No, playing chess. Like to chess.
All right, so this is my. She's just 7 years old, as she told me, and here she's with her brother and the mother and the father. Right, whole family is here and enjoying their time here at chess tournament in Poland, with a dog, with a little dog. And now we have the last round for today. In 5 minutes, the games will start. The players are really tired. You can feel that they are trying to get some energy, just to chat a little bit, or maybe have some tea or coffee to wake up. We are hoping that the last game will go smoothly for everyone. Tomorrow we have another part of the tournament starting, and the final, so we will know the European champion tomorrow in Rapids. I don't know, is Peter ready? Peter, what do you have for us? Maybe he has something for us, some standings, some games. I think Peter has something for us, so let's go to the big screen once again. Oh, Peter is gone. Everybody is gone. It's just me and you, Maya.
The next round should have already started, but it's not starting, and we have a delay, and it's not because, because of the organizers or something. People are still playing their previous game. There are a lot of people gathering. Actually, behind me, you can see some people. And I heard, because I even couldn't see because there are too many people there, I heard that there is an endgame, Rook and Bishop versus a Rook. So I don't know how many moves they are going to play. Normally, if it's 50 moves without capture or a pawn move, it's a draw. But yeah, they need to call the arbiter, and they are not playing on a digital board, so I'm not so sure if it's so easy to calculate. I mean, the arbiter needs to come and count it, and yeah, we'll see. But during this time, I think I can still show you a couple positions from the previous rounds. And I think one of the highlights of the previous round was the game Bloberger versus Donchenko, where there was very good play from white side. The Felix Bloberger was just crushing Alexander Donchenko. And in this position, he's completely winning. I mean, the engine gives like plus 14, because first of all, he has an extra piece. Secondly, his pawn on e7 is maybe worth a piece, so then he would be like 2 pieces up. The only issue is that white's king is also a little bit weak. And, well, he could have played like king d1 just to walk, to the other side. And I don't know, like queen, let's say g1. Then you can just run away with the king onto c2. And yeah, there's not much going on. I mean, just we are winning. I mean, like queen f7 check is coming. Yeah, that's completely winning. But in the game, Bloberger, probably short on time, played the move queen e5, which looks good, but because it's a centralizing move and so on. But after queen h1, this check was very difficult to meet, because now, well, the bishop on h4 is hanging. I mean, there's a check. If you play knight f1, which I actually did, I mean, now, first of all, queen takes f1 with the check is not that great for white, but also queen h4, which was even stronger, check, and then knight g3 and f4, and actually black is just winning. I was just curious whether instead of knight g3 he could have played something better, but that's probably difficult. I don't know, like king d2, queen f2 check, and if king d1, also, I mean, the knight is hanging, so yeah, bishop takes f1, probably it's just good enough. So yeah, after knight g3, f4, king d2, just f takes g3. Instead of being a piece up and with this e7 pawn, it is black who is a piece up and with a strong g-pawn. So what a turnaround in that game. I saw that when commentating live, Fiona and Trinat were just surprised that actually Alexander Donchenko is winning in this game. So yeah, that was really unexpected, but that's what happens when you are low on time. So that was it. Some other game which caught my attention was this one. Gudmundur Kjartansson versus Marek Mica. And here, yeah, well, objectively black is winning, but one thing is, objective evaluation, and the other is whether you have a clean way just to bring the full point home. And in the game, Rook a5 was played, which, yeah, it is still keeping the win, but yeah, it's getting messy. I mean, okay, still now black still had a clean move, but then the next move, like Rook f4, Queen c7, it's getting all very messy, and black did not play this in the best way. But here, in this position, maybe you can try to figure it out for yourself. I will just give you a hint that when you calculate variation, when you feel you are winning, you should look at checks and captures first, but also attacking strong piece, like a queen, for example. Attack on the queen might be very strong. So yeah, here Rook a8 was the move, because where to go with white's queen? there is no way to go, and black would be simply winning as the queen, yeah, has no moves. You see, it cannot go on the 8th rank because, yeah, the rook is protected. It cannot go to the 7th rank. I mean, the c6 square is also protected, e6 square is also protected, and c5, c4, c3, I mean, c3 is illegal, but all those other squares, c5, c4, are protected by black's pieces. An amazing position. Queen usually controls so many squares, and here the queen has no way to go. Okay, and one more position. I was just even talking in the break with Michał Karpus, who was black against player Alexandros Papasimakopoulos, and here black was not obliged to move the knight. I mean, the knight is pinned, right? And there are some other moves, but he could have played, for example, bishop h5, but Michał, being short on time, he still wanted to make it interesting and felt like knight takes e4, going for it was the way to go. And it was very interesting. Not the only way to play, but I really admire that someone, you know, being low on time, decides to sacrifice a piece and has it under control. So knight takes e4. What happens after bishop takes d8? So isn't black losing a queen? Well, now here comes the check. So first of all, the king cannot go to f1 because there is some knight g3 fork. That's simple. But how about king d1, which happened in the game? Now came rook takes d8. Okay, so we captured the bishop. Now white captures the bishop. And came rook takes d3. Very nice geometry. And the point is that after queen d3, as happened in the game, black goes knight f2 check. It's all forced, all forced. King's got to move, like c2 or e2. Anyway, we take just on d3. Okay, now white has a choice which piece to take, but he cannot take them both. So he took on c3, but yeah, as you can calculate, white has some pawns, but black emerged with an extra piece. So yeah, that was very interesting choice by Michał Karpus, just to sacrifice the queen and have it under control, and it's technically winning. Maybe some technical difficulties, but it's winning, and Michał won the game. And I see that I heard that the last round, which I said the rook and bishop versus rook, has finished, and already there are pairings. People are gathering here, so maybe I can quickly get them here, just to say what are the pairings for the 6th round. Yeah. So now finally we see grandmaster clashes. On the first board, Alexander Donchenko playing Michał Krasenkov. On the second board, Maciej Klekowski is playing Emil Mijojew. So these are all grandmasters. And then Igor Janik versus Toivo Keinanen, Piotr Brodowski versus Marcin Tazbir, Paweł Tetzlaff against Igor Kowalenko. These are the top 5 boards, all very, very strong players. And to be honest, I have no idea who is going to win in these encounters. Okay, so all from me. The round is about to start, so back to you.
Back to me, back to me.
I cannot hear anything. Are you ready, Fiona?
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. This is the final round of the day. It's been delayed. I mean, I wonder how many moves that game was, because the game lasted an hour and a half with a time control of 15 minutes plus 10. It must have been like a 200 move game or something.
Absolutely, Fiona. And it reminded me of my last World Rapid in 2019 when the last game of the day I was playing against Maxim Matlako. And the final game took a really long time. And during that time, I was really guilty of making everyone else wait for the bus. And here we have it, another game which delayed the last round and made everyone wait. But we are at the last round of the day, and Krasenko playing his second consecutive black after a fantastic win against Alexander Motilev, the first seed. He's playing against Alexander Donchenko, and he starts with d4, d6, knight f3, knight f6, expecting a king's Indian. What do you think, Fiona, about the last round?
Well, I think Alexander Donchenko, I think, will be very happy right now to not have lost. And Piotr, I saw, showed us during the break what happened in that game. If you missed it, do go and look up this Bloberger Donchenko game. Absolute craziness. So I think Donchenko will just be so delighted to be sitting on this first board and still be on a perfect score after the way the last round started. Also, he is, of course, much younger than Krasenkov. So in general, he should have more energy. But Krasenkov, I'm sure, will also be feeling energized by this win against Motilev, the top seeds. He gets a double black, though, to finish the day, which is tough. So my money would be on Donchenko, but hard to say what will happen here.
Absolutely agree. I think you perfectly summed it up. And we have three boards with the full score, 5 out of 5. Of course, the first board with Donchenko against Krasenko. And we have the second board with Klekowski against Emil, who, he won a very convincing game in the previous round, the round where we were discussing about white playing f4.
Oh, yeah. Yes, when he removed the knight from f3, and I was getting excited.
And Emil, I know, is a very strong grandmaster from Azerbaijan, but here I see him playing under the Ukrainian flag. When did this happen?
I don't know, but this summer I was commentating in Uppsala, Sweden, and he was already representing Ukraine at the time.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure.
He's rated just 24-18, but all through my life I remember that he used to be rated around 25-50, and then I don't know what happened. His rating just seemed to keep dropping.
No. Srinat, actually, I just Googled. I think you're confusing him, and you confused me. This
with
is Azar
Azar. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You confused
I
me
think
for
I
a
got.
second.
I'm extremely sorry, but
You were just
yes, I
testing us.
confused
That's
him.
what was going on.
I wish I can bail out that way, but it's too late already. Yes, it's Emil Mirzoev, and I just did not see the feed, and yes, he has 5 out of 5, and he has a very nice position out of the opening. It was a kind of Catalan, but here on the third move after g3 d5, Klekowski did not play d4, which would go into the mainline Catalan. Instead, he played the move bishop g2, and this would go into the mainline Catalan if black plays bishop e7, short castle, and now white plays d4. This is the main position of the classical Catalan. And white can also play b3 here, which is very similar to what Magnus played against Jan in the World Championship, or maybe the exact.
Yes.
No, it's not the same thing, but it's very similar. But the drawback of starting with bishop g2 without d4, black can take d to c4, and now after queen a4 check, it goes into this position where white gets a game, and there are a lot of subtleties that you have to know here with regard to the move order. But black does get a comfortable equality in these positions. Both bishop d7 and knight d7 are valid moves here. Black played knight b d7, and now after queen into c4, here black has again two valid options. He can either play c5 or he can play a6, and the difference between them is quite minute. Black went a6. In some cases, this can be a bit committal because after queen c2, c5, uh, in if black starts with c5 in these type of positions, then black also retains the option of playing b6 and bishop b7. Quite often it starts with rook b8 and b6, but sometimes it's also possible to play b6 directly, and knight e5 would be knight into e5, and knight d4 would be with knight e5. So in some cases, this works concretely for black, and starting with a6 kind of takes this option away from black. But this is something black does quite commonly here. Queen c2, c5, short castle, and now black went b5. And at this point, it looks to me that black has managed to solve his opening problems. I think the critical line here, I'm not entirely sure, but I think maybe it's something like a4. What I remember is white should make it difficult for black to get this bishop onto b7, but I don't remember the exact way how white manages to achieve that. And I'm not even sure if it is queen c2 or queen b3, which is, I think queen b3 is the most testing line here. But my memory is a bit hazy. But yeah, when black got b5 and the bishop came to b7, I think black managed to solve his opening problems more or less. And the present position that we have, it's completely equal. Black has managed to solve his queen side development problems. He goes bishop e7 and short castle in the next two moves, and it's going to be a very symmetrical position.
So I suggest that we come back to this one once it heats up, and maybe we go back to the top board where Alexander Donchenko is playing Michael Krasenkov, and we can see what's going on there, because the position already looks quite interesting.
Sure. So I'm sorry, which game were you saying?
Donchenko against Krasenkov.
Yeah. Right there. And we have some very concrete action here already, Fiona. It looks like Krasenko is in trouble right out of the opening again, which makes me curious why he goes for these kind of, the perk modern setups, d6 and c6 and stuff. Why not play the good old main lines? But I think in Rapid and Blitz, people tend to be comfortable with the setups that they're most familiar with, even if it doesn't lead to an objectively equal position. But it's something I would be pretty hesitant to do myself as black, to constantly get into positions with +1. But it did work for him against Alexander. So
that's true, but I don't think that's something to rely on. Oh, I got a tactic working for me in a losing position. Let's do this again, since it worked so well.
Indeed, it makes it exactly as you pointed. Which game is over? We have a quick draw on the second board. Oh yeah, the Klekowski game.
Well, you were just saying that black has equalized. And Klekowski clearly agreed with you. No, but on a serious note, I think the players are exhausted because, as you mentioned earlier, the World Rapid and Blitz is 5 games a day, which is already quite a bit. Also, these players both yesterday played 22 games of Blitz. Today, already 5 games of Rapid. So I think it's understandable, They were both on a perfect score. And that way now they leave on 5.5 out of 6, which is a great start to the tournament. End the night a little bit sooner. Try to maybe just have some nice dinner, get an early sleep, and then save some energy for the final day tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's totally understandable. And as you mentioned, yes, 22 games of Blitz, Fiona. In the World Blitz, they play that amount of games over 2 days, not on one day.
Yeah.
And even then, I think it's only 21 rounds from what I remember. 12 rounds on the first day and 9 on the second day. So it was grueling action yesterday. And
Yeah.
I would have thought I would have thought 18 games would be, more than norm, which is what they have in the Aeroflot Blitz. 22 games was like a test of endurance.
Indeed. I mean, to be crowned champion, you have to show here that you're not only a very good chess player, but you have to show that stamina to still be standing at the end of the day. And to be honest, I think also in this rapid championship, of course, you have to play well, but I think also here, being to win this tournament, there's a lot of other factors other than just being a strong chess player. You have to be in good shape, both physically and mentally. And well, we will see tomorrow who the last man standing will be.
Indeed, literally the last man standing. And yeah, so Klekowski has played 22 games of that, and he showed energy till the very last rounds. And here he has played 6 games today, and it's going to be a real test of his stamina tomorrow. I remember when I played in the World Rapid, the first day, the first 5 rounds, it didn't really affect my stamina. But by the second day, I was exhausted, and on the third day, all of us were exhausted. We were all making blunders left, right, and center. And the stronger players were beating the weaker players. 2600s were beating the 2500s just by blunders with no resistance. And it was like this. So
It's completely crazy. And to be honest with you, I'm somewhat surprised, even surprised and impressed that we're not seeing more quick draws. It looks like everyone, at least for now, is still out for a fight, and especially so Alexander Donchenko, who will be looking to be one of the only players coming out of this day on a perfect 6 out of 6.
we also have a couple of other boards on full points. There is the game between Yannick against Toivo, and both of them are pretty young and promising, yes. And we have this position
Yeah, let's have a look.
in their boards right now, where Yannick
Very
seems to have
interesting.
a very, yes. Yeah, Yannick seems to have got out of the opening with much more time than his opponent. And once again, we have a position. Let's look at it from the beginning. It started with d4, d5, c4, the queen's gambit. Black chose to decline it with e6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3. This is one of the biggest main lines starting from 1 d4, and black has like about 8 or 10 options here. It's like the crossroads. Bishop e7 is queen's gambit decline. Bishop b4 is the Rogozin. c5 is the Cimetière. d into c4 is Vienna. Black can play knight bd7. Black can play a6. Black can play h6. And c6 is the Semislav, which is another main line. The game can go in at least 8 different ways, which I've mentioned here, and probably a few moves that I haven't mentioned. And black went bishop e7. And now white goes g3, which is a kind of hybrid between the queen's gambit and the Catalan. But in general, it's not a good idea to play g3 after you commit your knight to c3, because in the very typical Catalan positions where black has taken d into c4, which he takes on the sixth move, this knight is better placed on b1, because we want to put the knight on d2 and then take on c4 with the knight as much as possible. This is the ideal scenario for white, to take this knight onto c4 and focus on the e5 square, put this knight on e5, the knight on c4, open up the bishop. This knight on c3, it kind of comes in the way, and this can also come from the traditional Catalan move order: bishop e7, bishop g2, short castle, and now knight c3 without castling short. And after d into c4, we have the same position, and this goes into a forcing line after knight e5, which also can happen after short castle in this position. D into c4, knight e5, and black plays knight to c6, bishop into c6, b into c6, knight into c6, queen e8. Oh, I'm sorry. Knight into e7 check, queen into e7, and now white takes the c4 pawn, but black gets a lot of strategic compensation on the light squares. White has made this very committal decision to give up his Catalan bishop for a pawn. The point of starting with knight c3 is to do exactly this. White wants to enter this position with knight e5, knight c6, and trade everything, and go into this knight into e7,
Sorry,
queen into e7.
sorry,
Yes,
Suna, to
Fiona.
interrupt you, but actually with his last move, I don't know if you saw it on the camera, but Teufel has just offered a draw, and his opponent Yannick, I think, wasn't sure if he heard correctly, so he said, "Did you say something?" And then it's like when we were kids in this tournament, so Teufel made like this, "Yes, offer draw." So now we will see what will Yannick decide. Will he take the draw, decide to call it a
No.
night, or will he fight on? No.
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't take the draw. If people have the access to the channel, we can put up a poll to the chat. Will Yannick offer a draw, or will he continue? But you know,
Yeah, I don't know
what I
if-
was saying is, please go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, I don't know if there's any mods in the European, but for sure in Cathy's channel, I see there's a lot of action there, so I'm sure they will make us a poll. It will have to be quick, though.
Yes. No, I think they have. I'm pretty sure Yannick is not going to accept the draw, which is why I started going on from the first move to explain this whole thing. Why White played knight c3, because he wants to castle long, and he hasn't committed the short castle yet, and that is exactly the position that we have in the game. White got this option to castle long, and that is the reason why they started playing this variation with knight c3 and delaying short castle. In general, not a good idea in Catalan, but if white wants to go to these positions, then this is the way to go. And you would think that the white king is a bit exposed like this on the long side, but it's actually pretty well protected by black's own pawn. Black's own pawn is covering his pieces. And because of the opposite color bishop, this b2 pawn is very easy to defend for white, and it's not going to be easy for black to attack this pawn, which is on a dark square. So going to the present position which we have here, it's a strategic battle between the control of dark squares over the light squares. White has control of all these dark squares here, bishop c5, rook d6, all these things coming in. And it looks like black is a bit slow to get any counterplay on the light squares, which is also why I was a bit certain that Yannick was not going to accept the draw offer.
Of the opening with that, and also with so I think you rightly he would, and I guess you quite fancy his chances.
Indeed, Fiona. I think there are two reasons for this. One is White's position is better, and objectively, and secondly, I can also feel it from his body language that he knows and understands what is going on. He has just played Rook b4 here. This seems like a blunder, and why is that though? I just saw the evaluation bar shoot up
I know.
to +4.
Is
It's
that
because
the
of bishop
reason?
c5.
Bishop c5, and there are some back rank problems, some serious back rank problems. The bishop cannot be captured.
I saw this coming. I saw Rook before coming, and I was just wondering how should White respond against this. I felt that Yannick would have this covered, but I couldn't see why. And as soon as it came on the board and the evaluation bar shot up, and it looked like he had it pre-planned, Bishop c5. Now the Black Rook has to go to b7 probably, the only square from which it doesn't get hit by White. And here White just picks up the pawn after bishop d6 and bishop into e5. So I think this is the problem that Black has here. And yeah, White is just dominating this.
Yeah, indeed. And well, this looks also on a perfect score, yeah?
Yes, if Yannick wins, he would also be on a perfect score, and he looks set to make it happen. Also, Toivo seems a bit tired and rattled by what is happening out there in the board. It looked like his draw offer did not come from a position of strength, but it came from a position of weakness, and such offers, they generally don't tend to get accepted.
Absolutely. I don't know if we should stick around here or if we should jump around. What's the last game we haven't seen? There's one more game with players on a perfect score, right? Because there were 8 of them. So it must be
There's actually one more
Brodowski.
board. Yes, Brodowski against Marcin, but yes, Fiona, I think you called it right, because Marcin has 4.5 out of 5. He made a very quick draw in the
Yes.
previous round, but Brodowski has 5 out of 5, and he seems to be winning here.
So let's have a look actually at this position. So that black king at first sight pinned to the bishop, that's not where you want your pieces to be.
Absolutely, not by choice in any case. And I'm still not sure how exactly this gets executed, though. How exactly White manages to win this piece, but I think Brodowski should be able to figure this one out.
He very calmly
He goes with
just
knight to
retreats the
d3.
knight. And the question is, what does black actually do to... Okay, so black stepped out of the fork, but here comes the check with the knight.
Yes, and what I'm understanding about this position is the Black's problem is not that he's losing a piece right away. I think he manages to find a way to save it, but even if he manages to save his piece, he's probably losing something. He's giving up some concession. At the very least, White takes this pawn if he wants to, but he can probably go for more. I think the decisive factor is the activity of his rooks.
Yes, indeed. And well, it's what we said. We had a very similar situation earlier where it was just one extra pawn for one side, but the bar was showing, +4, +5. And indeed, it's what you're saying. The pieces are just so much stronger. Also, king safety is so important, and that black king is just that bit more exposed. So it looks like Brodowski has great chances to get to stay on 100%. Also, Yannick and Donchenko. So I don't know if you want to go back to one of these games or if you want to check out something new. Here's an interesting game. Balok Imre against Lubomir Mikhalets from Ukraine.
I'm so grateful that you pronounced those names, Fiona. That could have taken me.
I just
5
say it
chances.
confidently. I don't know if it's correct, but just say it confidently and hope for the best.
I know a friend who's very good at that. He does things so confidently, regardless of what he does, and it works really well for him.
Confidence is key, Srinat. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at what is going on here. At first sight, once again, we see this black king out in the open.
Yes, the black king out in the open and equal pawns. Once again, I'm reminded of my friend Kevin, Grandmaster Kevin. I hope he doesn't stop the stream once again. But the pawns are equal, and it looks better for white, but there's no direct way for white to get access to the black's king. So it looks like black is not totally out of control here. The knight on c5 is preventing any threats on the c file, and it also protects this d7 square, which could become a problem if white gains access to the d file in the long run, for example, after c4 and rook d1. So although it looks bad long term, oh yeah, bishop d3 was the move. Bishop d3 was the concrete move, which was a problem. But what I calculated here was queen a7. I think it's the only move to protect a5. And it looks like black still has things under control. After rook into b8, king into b8, the king comes back to c7. I think it still has things under control, and all these pieces on the dark squares. So queen a7 played on the board. I think... although it's +1, and I'm sure it's more pleasant for white, it's far from winning.
Yeah, so we will see just how much resistance can black put up. Srinath, before we go to the next game, I had a good idea. Maybe you say something nice about Kevin on the stream, and that way it will be some good connection karma. What do you think?
Oh yeah, that's not difficult at all, because Kevin is actually a really nice guy. If you ignore his tendencies to not count pawns, he's actually he's a grandmaster. He became a grandmaster at the age of 35, which I think is exceptional.
Wow!
And he's also very well educated, and he works as the CFO of a startup, Lucent's Diagnostics.
He's a busy man.
I can't think of many. Indeed, he's a busy man. He doesn't find... I think that's why he finds it difficult to count pawns, because he has so many things to do. He's busy counting the big numbers in millions.
Well, each to their own. I mean, I said I always counted the pawns, but maybe if you gave me a choice, I would also prefer to count the millions. Srinath? No, sorry, the result was put wrong. So Brodowski has won his game. It was saying 0-1, but it's actually 1-0. So Brodowski, the first player to finish the day on 6 out of 6. And let's maybe go back to board 1 to Alexander Donchenko and the local legend Michael Krasenkov.
Yes, Fiona. We are back to the first board, and it is an equal position in terms of material. But for starters, there's the isolated queen pawn. The white knight is dominating. I mean, it's blockading the pawn. It's not exactly dominating. But yeah, there is the isolated queen pawn. And secondly, the unfortunate placing of this b6 knight, it really isn't doing anything at all, and it is well dominated by this pawn on b3. This is a well-known strategic idea, by the way. When your opponent has a knight on the 6th rank, then your pawn on the on the 3rd rank, it really limits that knight. And to me, I imagine that like a pike against a knight, a mounted horseman, the pawn on b3, it really works well against the knight on b6. And apart from this, I think the black king is not entirely safe. So white can go king g2, rook h1, and create threats on the h file as well. So I think these are the elements that give such a big advantage for white.
Yeah, and I think Alexander is going to be very focused here. I mean, we've seen so many turns around. He himself was in the previous round probably involved in the biggest turnaround we've maybe seen in the entire tournament. So I think this time, now that he's the one with the advantage and he's in charge, I think he will be extra focused to not take a wrong step and give some chances to Black here.
Yes, absolutely. And I think he's also half the age of his opponent, yes. So there's also that at stake, that uh, he's expected to have more energy as we go into the end of the day.
Indeed. And why did the bar just shut up? And now it's for us to figure out why.
I think
Is
there's
it
no
just simply
immediate concrete reason.
King
Yeah, King
G2
G2,
has
Rook
been played?
H1. Black can still go King F7 and he can evacuate his king. But then White would play F4 and Queen H5 check, Knight F5 check, and all these moves. So the king cannot really run like he did in the Donchenko game yesterday in Blitz, because here the lines are much more open. It's a more open battlefield.
Indeed, and it's just very tough to see something for Krasenkov to do. In the previous game, he was also under pressure, but at least there were more chances for counterplay. The position was more messy. The pieces were a little bit all over the board. He also had some pieces which were at least looking at the enemy king, but here the white king on G2 is so safe. There is a beautiful white knight on D4, which is controlling so many squares. Meanwhile, for black, the rook on A8 and the knight on B6 are a bit out of the game for now. So it's just very hard to see how black could possibly orchestrate any kind of threats or chances here.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think maybe we move back to the Yannick game, because I think it's close to, it's about to end.
Let's go there.
I'm not sure if how quickly this will end, but I see that Black has only 1 minute. He's under a lot of pressure, and it looks like he's
Basically,
going to lose something.
Yannick and Donchenko are in a race of who can be the second player to get to 6 out of 6.
Yes, and Fiona, we were talking about how there were no Polish players at the top of the starting rank, but at the end of day one, I think we are going to have two Polish players out with the lead, and 2 out of 3. So it just looks like a lot of, oh, this is a nice trick, you know. I think we need to show this, even if it's probably going to not happen. Bishop into c5.
Super nice.
A greedy move. But this wouldn't work because of queen into c3 check. And it would look like the queen is hanging. But if white takes this, then after rook b1 check, king c2, and this rook to b2, it's checkmate. So this is the little trick that Toivo is counting on. But white is not obliged to take this knight at all, and he can probably take this pawn or just go queen c6. Queen c6 is more towards my liking. You just don't want to let this knight come to b3. Indeed. Oh, what? He took bishop into c5? Really? He took bishop into c5? What did he miss?
Oh my
what did he miss?
Oh my goodness, this is incredible. And now, okay, I mean,
wow.
he shouldn't take on c3 now. What a incredible... I mean, even I saw it, Sunan. This is incredible. Oh my God. I don't know. But again, it's so much easier for us at home in the comfort from our own homes. For the players, it's a different story, having played 22 games of Blitz and now 5 games of Rapid. But this is also such a shock when you miss something like this, and then you have to recompose yourself, and now the whole battle starts anew.
Yeah, it starts fresh and okay, but the good thing for Yannick is he still has a lot more time and his position is still quite defensible because he can put this bishop on d4 and the b2 pawn would be protected. Uh, he has lost a huge chunk of his advantage and black is going to start creating some real counterplay here. After rook c2, he is not getting mated and he can still yeah, after queen e5, he's probably going to go bishop d4 because after bishop d6, black has queen e3 check, and it's not really a tactic that's working. But have this bishop on d4, just stabilize yourself a bit, get this bishop on c3, and start playing along the d file. It's still not so bad for white.
Yeah, but of course, such a huge chunk of the advantage is gone. And also, something like this will give Toivo new motivation. I think, Toivo is sometimes mentally you understand, your position is lost. And then, especially when you play a move like knight c5, I'm really so shocked that the knight was taken because otherwise, I mean, it just looks like he put his knight en prise. So you try a move like knight c5 and you think, okay, let me try some tricks. Like I know he can take it, but then maybe the knight can come in and the opponent takes it. And suddenly you get like a second win, like a new life. And from a psychological point of view, at least now the advantage is on black side.
Absolutely. The momentum plays a huge role. And also black has this nice little trick with c3, bringing this bishop to b3. For example, something like king b1, then black can go c3, attacking the b2 point. And if white takes with the bishop, which he kind of has to because the rook is protecting the b2 point, then black has this idea with bishop b3. So this is a very undesirable thing for white, which he will try to avoid, and which is why he had to go f4 here. But the problem with f4, you weaken all these light squares. You would have ideally liked to not do this. You would want to put the pawn on e4 with white. Since you have to go f4, black can get potential counterplay on this diagonal. He goes queen f5 with the idea of queen e4 and bishop f5.
Yeah, and I mean, suddenly, I could even see this game turning around completely because suddenly this king on c1, with the weaknesses that you just highlighted on of the light squares. I mean, if I had to choose now, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but I would definitely choose black now.
I'm still a bit scared to predict this time because all my predictions have kind of gone wrong today. It's very tricky to very tricky to predict the results of a chess game. Even in classical chess, when I've been the captain of the Indian team once, and you would think that chess at levels about 2600 people would be very secure with an advantage, but it's not the case because the level of resistance is so high and people are very good at defending bad positions as you go higher up the level. So the evaluation would be something after the first 3 hours, and in almost 50% of the games it would change at the 4th hour, and this happens even in classical chess. So in rapid, I think it's very hard to make any probability predictions. It would only work if people counted only the successful predictions.
Srinath, that was a very nice speech, but now tell us, what is your prediction?
I was hoping that you would forget about it, but I think Yannick would manage to save this. Just to go against you.
Okay, so you're predicting a draw, yeah?
Yeah, I'm predicting a draw.
Although to be fair, I didn't. I didn't predict a black win. I was just saying if I could choose, I would prefer to play black now. But we will see. I mean,
That
certainly a
literally
very
means the same thing, Fiona.
not at all, not at all. But I mean, okay, it's it's what is it now? It's local time is 6 in the evening. The players had to register this morning between 8 and 9 o'clock. Started playing at 9:30, so they've been playing for 9 hours now, which is a long time. Of course, there's the lunch break, but still, it's such a long day. So I think these games very often, and we just talked about it, very often they don't get decided by just pure chess, but they get decided sort of in here in the head and on the stamina.
Yes, and you mentioned about the lunch break, but waiting for something which induces anxiety, that also consumes a lot of energy by itself. So you don't quite replenish a lot of energy there.
Did
The
you? Oh
things
my
are
God, what
heating
just
up.
happened?
The game, what happened? He has
Oh my
won.
God.
Black has won. It
Oh my
turned around
God.
so quickly. He got checkmated directly.
So
Queen c2. It was a
crazy.
checkmate.
Oh my God. This is really heartbreaking for Yannick, who got everything he wanted out of the opening and got such a winning position. Then this trick with knight c5. Then he was still a bit better. Then suddenly it was even. And I mean, it was just, this, you know it better than I do, but the trend sometimes in a game of chess, once it starts moving against you, it can just suddenly everything can go downhill so quickly, and I think that's what we saw here. Let's bring up the game of Donchenko.
Absolutely, Fiona. Yannick just fell apart completely. And
Yeah.
we are back to the Donchenko Krasenko game where the king, when we last looked at the position, the king was on g8, and now it's on b8. But okay,
It's
this
made
position with the king
quite
on
the
b8,
run.
indeed. Today the Gashimo Memorial began in Azerbaijan, and in the first round, Vichy had something similar with the black pieces. He had his king on g8 and knight on h8, and he did not survive that game. Even if you're a legend, even if you're a 50-year-old legend, if you have your knight on a8 and king on b8, it's unlikely that you can manage to fight out. And yeah, rook into d5 coming in, and threats on the e8 rook.
Yeah, and so actually Alexander has taken on d5 with the knight.
Yeah, he took with the knight. I thought taking with the rook was more natural, but maybe he thinks that the threats after knight into d5 is bigger. This, of course, allows this counterplay with rook e2. I'm not sure. Okay, so queen h8 check was his intention. The rook is forced to go back. He can also choose to trade queens with queen e8, but I don't think that improves black's position, because now white can just take on e8, rook into e8, and rook h7, and win the second pawn. This is one of the safer ways to win, and I think white's gonna go for this, because you don't want this rook on e2 to stay for too long.
Yeah, and I
Oh,
think
he goes
he's
knight
picking.
e3.
Oh
He goes
wow.
knight e3 here. His point is the queen is attacked and rook d8 check. It's going to win the knight, and he thinks that the knight on e3 has everything defended here. Rook into f2, king g1, and the g2 and f1 squares are protected. It's a very
Super nice.
it's a very strong move.
It's very strong. I would never dare. I would always go for the save win. But Alexander is a braver man, a braver player than I am. What just okay? No, nothing happened. I saw the bar.
Uh,
He's a braver
no,
player than I am, and it looks like that will be that, more or less.
yes, unless black finds a way to get some perpetual going. I mean, I did see the engine evaluation and I understood that there would be something stronger, but I didn't really expect him to go for this. And I don't think many people would have done this.
Yeah, absolutely. But now, well, it's an extra piece. Actually, Krasenkov's shirt, when we have this front camera, he has one of those shirts which are really tricky for the camera. I don't know if you saw. If we get the front camera back on Krasenkov, it's one of these shirts which are like almost epilepsy inducing. You know, when we're in the studio and we are told not to wear stripes. Oh my God.
Yes.
Did Alexander
Yes,
we saw
I
him
see.
there
I see
make a
what you're
move.
talking about when I focus. He played Rook G8.
But he played Rook G8, but can we zoom in on the clock? Because he made the move, I don't know, with 1 or 2 seconds because he was jumping, like jumping onto the clock. So I don't know if we can see. They've made
There
some,
is
he made some
no Rook
quick
G2
moves
check.
now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very brave decision, yeah, to go for this with such little time, because you have all these annoying threats
Incredible.
with the rooks on the 7th rank, which is exactly what I didn't want to allow as white. But after Rook F3, he has everything safe, because after Rook G2 check, black does not have a follow-up. And black will probably make some more moves, but the white rook on G7, it will go to G6 or F7, take F6, and then white can start pushing that F pawn. And it looks completely safe for. Oh,
But we can
he's
clearly
so greedy.
see. I know. He's like, no, I will not give you even one single thing. I will give you.
Yes, I mean now it's just over. Yeah, Rook F2 and yeah, the 7th rank invasion is repelled.
I think we will see
I think
resignation here quite soon.
yeah, sometimes the players just continue playing out of some inertia because they just don't want to accept that it's over. But there is really no. Yeah, now we
And
have it.
there is the resignation. And Alexander Donchenko becomes the third player. I think there will be only be three players on a perfect score. Alexander Donchenko, Toivo Keinanen, and Brodowski. And let's see, what else do we still? We still have Igor Kovalenko playing with black against Pavel Teklav. So maybe we can go there for the final moments. Oh, you already had that up.
Once again,
Stop
Fiona, your
reading
wish
my
is my
minds,
command.
Rinat. Stop spending all that time with all these mentalist people. Scary.
Indeed.
So what is going on here? It is an extra piece for Kovalenko. White has the two pawns, but should probably not be enough.
Yeah, it's not enough because these 2 pawns, they're not able to stay connected and move forward. This pawn is on a dark square and it's an opposite color bishop. Black manages to achieve an easy blockade on the light squares. This knight goes back to d7. There's no way to defend this pawn, and he will collect it, and he can save it with c5. But I think now black will slowly start creating threats on both the sides. I was
And
expecting knight
actually,
f8,
sorry,
knight a6,
Srinat.
but he goes.
Sorry, I was actually going to take you away from this game because I saw something really interesting in Donchenko against Damian Leftak from Poland, and I think Damian Leftak might be getting a big upset here, which would be really tough on Donchenko's chances. He was the second seed. Saw he already lost one game. And if he loses another here, it's already going to be super tough to fight for the first place, at least tomorrow. And it's an interesting endgame, this one, with the bishop and these pawn avalanche against the rooks. The rook.
Yes, the bishops and the pawns working perfectly in cooperation. Yeah, the light squares and the dark squares, and now the king moves forward. I guess maybe start with king e. The king has to go to d4, and he has to start pushing the pawns. And black is in time. Okay, king f7 after rook g5. I'm not sure what he intends to do. I thought king d5, king d4 was the way to win, because rook g5 maybe his point is f. But yeah, I mean f4. Yeah, rook g5 played. I'm not really sure about f4, because even if yeah, he goes king f6. But eventually black has to move the king forward. He needs time to calculate. He doesn't have that time. f4, it trades one more pawn, which shouldn't matter if black manages to get these pawns in. But white has his move king c3, which I'm not sure once again if Damian anticipated. And now it's not so easy
Yeah.
to win anymore, because the rook will stay. Oh no, not rook g7 because of bishop e5 check. But the rook has to prevent the black king from going to g4. Maybe rook e8 is a move. And the king stays within d2 and c3 all through.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, because it looks like, I don't know if we can get the camera on these players, because we're not getting any more moves. I'm not sure if they agreed to draw, if a player flagged, or what happened here. Because it looks like we're just not getting.
Yeah,
Or
now
are
we
we
have the
getting
video on
moves?
screen, and
Oh, we have
they
the
are
video. Oh,
repeating though.
perfect.
I think Donchenko played rook g2, and then bishop e5 check, king d2, bishop f4, king c3. This is what has happened. And then Damian goes bishop f6. So the present position that we have is exactly this one, from what I can see, which has turned things a bit in favor of black, because I guess rook g2 was not the strongest move. Very understandable though. He wanted to prevent black from coming king g4. But the problem is bishop f6, and if the white rook has to defend passively from h2, then black can create some chances maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's
still not exactly sure how
definitely.
black does
Sorry.
that though. Still,
How
still not
black what?
sure what the concrete how black continues after rook h2, how he creates problems. But it has to be, I think, related to king e5, king d4, and e3. Ultimately, you need to move these pawns forward.
So let's see if. Sorry, if I've lost the game for a second. If Lefta can find the way and show us the way forward here.
Yeah, king e3, bishop e7. He has the bishop on c5, and now king d4 is incoming, I think. King d4 and e3 check. And white cannot really prevent it with rook h3, because black can play e3 check in any case. Rook into e3, bishop b4 check. The rook falls,
Very
and
nice.
you get this pawn on e2, bishop on b4, and e1 is unstoppable. So it's a pretty straightforward win for black from here. e3 check, he goes
And
king c1. Even e2 wins there, I think. Yes, and I think it's resignation time in a move or two.
and a big upset, this one as well. A huge result for Damian Leftek, who gets a big win with the black pieces against second seed and current. Well, I shouldn't call it just yet before we've seen a handshake, but it will. And there is the resignation.
Wow. That's the second time he has done that in a day.
I know. I'm not going to say anything, but I said enough already. And he also is leaving without, I mean, the way, like, I think you just don't do that. I understand it's tough to lose a game of chess. We've all been there, but you don't throw the pieces back like that and then leave without, like, we can discuss, but I think the way those pieces were thrown is not appropriate. Oh! Srinath, once again, we finished the day like this.
Well, if this is the last game, then yes, once again we finish like this. But I think Kovalenko is not going to fool around for a long time here. He's going to show exactly how it's done in a very straightforward and efficient way. He already has a white on the wrong corner, the bad corner, I think, and it's going to. I think it's going to end pretty quickly.
Absolutely. After that, there's not too many games left. I think we will watch the checkmate until the end, since we don't see that game so often, and we have the camera on the. Oh my God! Actually, is this guy? Was it not Pavel? Also yesterday, who was on the receiving end of this, on the defending side of this endgame, or am I imagining it?
I think he was not. I
Because
think it
that
was
would
between.
be no.
I think it was between two lesser known players, if I remember.
I don't know. I would look it. It's really long. It's gonna be very tough to find it. I might look it up at some point. I'm probably wrong. I think I've
Oh,
just been such long
someone in the
days that
chat says it was.
Oh my God.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Truth is saying, yeah, Truth. He's one of my main guys, and he also because I remember somehow, we see Pavel on the camera there with this dejected face. And I have such a deja vu feeling of him defending some hopeless. Like I really got this huge deja vu when this appeared. Maybe someone other than Truth can confirm. Not that I don't have faith in you, Truth, but I mean, if that's the case, it's just an absolutely insane coincidence.
Well, truth is hard to find these days, and
He will
it's
have
always
it.
nice
No,
to
it
get a
isn't.
confirmation.
JX says it isn't, but Truth is gonna go looking and find the truth for us. And
You know,
but he has
sometimes the
actually
truth is
won.
overrated, Fiona.
Very true. Very true. But Srinat, I can confirm to you, this is gonna be the last game we will look at today. I think there is some. What does Magnus say? Beauty in repetition. So we will also find the beauty in repetition in ending on the same bishop and knight endgame.
By the way, just to let people know, it has been it started on the 76th move. White took bishop at f2 and black recaptured knight at f2. So it has been about 20 moves till now. And I had such confidence in Kovalenko, but it has taken a lot of time already, Fiona.
And suddenly the king is not in the corner anymore at all.
Yes,
So
and
how many moves?
I was. So it has been. This is the 23rd move, the 99th move. It started.
At 76.
I think it started on the 76. Yeah, 76 knight into f2, and we have 27 moves more for white to survive. And I was just telling one of my
Halfway there.
students recently about how openings are not everything, and the strongest players, they remember all these theoretical endgames, the rook and bishop versus the rook, the bishop and knight. And I really hope Kovalenko, he doesn't prove me wrong in this game.
Well, fingers
I mean,
crossed. He has 23 more moves to make it.
Yes, 23 more moves to make it. But for white, the challenge is to try and get this king onto this corner, because on a8 it gets mated. I think I made a mistake initially in the excitement. The black has to drive the king towards the light square corner, either a8 or h1, because he has a light square bishop. And the challenge for white is to try and take this king onto h8. It's not going to be easy to reach there, but also black doesn't seem to be in his traditional position. But he has managed to take the a6 square out for the king. King a7, he goes to king c6, king b8, king b6, king c8, bishop b5. Black just has to take control of the c8 square, and then it's going to be mate in a few moves here. I think it's coming more or less by force. King b6, and now king c8, bishop b5, king b8, bishop d7, king a8, and then knight c7, king b8, knight a6, king a8, bishop c6, checkmate. That's the spoiler, guys.
And he- Some nice arrows there. Oh, and I think he's gonna try to claim before the mate comes, but he is not quite there yet. It makes sense to try because it's hard to know. He wasn't so far off. There's still well, it's 15 moves, but it's hard to when you are playing. It's hard to know like how close or far you are. I think. I don't know if that's the
Yes,
claim or if there is something else going on, but I guess that's it. So I think they will, since they are on a live board, I think the arbiter will simply check. And there's
the arbiter
the
will simply
resignation. Yeah.
Checkmate.
What a way, Spinner, to end the day. It's been such an eventful day, and it's only been day one of this European Rapid Championship. After 6 rounds today, we have 3 leaders. 3 players are left on a perfect 6 out of 6 score. Alexander Donchenko from Germany, Toivo Kainanen from Finland, and finally waving the Polish flag, international master. So the only international, no, actually Toivo is also an international, so 2 international masters out there, but Piotr Rudetsky from Poland also on a perfect 6 out of 6. Tomorrow, 5 rounds remain to be played. Tomorrow, 5 rounds remain to be played to crown the new European champion. And not only the title is at stake, but also the €4,000 first prize. Also more prizes. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But Srinat, it's been so much fun once again. Thank you so much. And tomorrow we will start at 10 a.m. Central European time. Thank you so much to you guys for watching us. And Srinat, I leave you the final words.
Thank you so much, Fiona. It has been likewise. It has been a wonderful pleasure commentating with you. And once again, a shout out to the chat across all the different channels. It's been a pleasure doing this with you guys, and look forward to tomorrow, the final day.
Absolutely. See you tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye bye.
No ale tam nic nie mam, nic nie przygotowałem.
Over half of the world's population lives in cities. While each city is unique, they face similar challenges, including pollution, the climate crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic. The exchange of ideas to address urban challenges, such as improved housing, basic services, and green spaces, is critical. The World Urban Forum, known as WUF, is the largest global gathering on sustainable urbanization. The forum is convened by UN Habitat every 2 years. In 2022, WUF 11 will be the city of Katowice in Poland with the theme Transforming Our Cities for a Better Urban Future. WUF 11 in 2022 will explore solutions to make cities safer, greener, and a better place to live. This is a transformation that Katowice itself has experienced. WUF 11 is organised by UN Habitat, Poland's Ministry of Development Funds and Regional Policy, and the city of Katowice. We are building the cities of the future today. Join us in 2022 and be at the heart of this change.
We wanted to share the results, however, the game is still going on, and that's why we will maybe play some Puzzle Rush with Anna.
Yes, again, but this time you can hear me, so maybe that's possible.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the 5 minutes Puzzle Rush, and maybe we will do it slower. Try to maybe explain a bit more.
But you know what? Here is checkmate in one, so maybe we don't have to explain.
Okay, okay. This is a very typical motive the back rank made, so that's it. Okay. And again the back rank made. Okay. Okay, taking 3 pieces. Now it's again the back rank made. Usually, I don't know how many back rank mates do we have.
All of them.
All of them are back rank mates. Okay, cool. Let's see. Maybe you can write in the chat how many points Anna can score within those. Within those. Okay. 11 points already within 1 minute, not a full minute. Okay. Okay. This is. Do you know how it's called? That's. I think it's called the Anastasia mate. That was the one. Okay.
Look at this.
And it's again a background mate. Okay. I'm not seeing the chat unfortunately, but I'm also curious how many points you get, guys, when solving the puzzle rush at the chess.com. So what do we have here? Yeah, it's not knight c4. I think we've seen this already somewhere. Yeah. It's okay. Okay. Oops. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, and in the meanwhile, I see that the players are still playing. So yeah, and yeah, people are gathering around, but I guess most of them wanted to already to leave the playing hall because that's the last round. But still, the game is going on, and I mean, I see a lot of arbiters around that game. Well.
It's second mistake, so
Okay, now if we make the third mistake, we are losing. We are losing. So
but you know it's so hard to focus because if you want to make a move in few seconds, you cannot do it because the screen is so big. You have to stand 2 meters from this. And
okay. Okay, so rook takes e5. Okay, and yeah, and
oh no, I think we will take.
take the rook. Okay. So what do we have here? Hmm? This is a bit messy position.
Yes, like. Can we just, for example, play knight? No, knight takes d3, bishop takes c2. Maybe bishop b.
B3. That's one of the ideas, just to attack the king, just to prepare the cage for the king.
It's quite easy. Yeah, and knight d3.
Okay. Here we are just winning the pawn endgame. It's very easy. Okay, 25. Probably will not make a record here.
Not today.
Not today. And yeah, we are just winning piece here. And here it's, I don't know how it's called in English.
Neither do I. But it's typical checkmate. Oh, you know what? I have to focus and not to blunder again.
Okay, so I'll try to keep talking. It's in Polish. It's called the. Oh, I know. It's in Polish called Beniowski mate, but in English, I think they call it smothered mate. Smothered mate. So that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, rook takes e6. But what's the head count here? we are a piece down at the moment here. So a rook takes e6 seems the most natural. Then some
Takes e6 and what? Queen f7. Then
Queen Queen f7. Then yeah, Queen h6 must be winning. Rook e6. Okay, it's easy, actually, very easy. Okay, we are doing it on time, and we are running out of time. But the score 30 might not be that terrible.
It's not so easy to comment and to make moves. So maybe we should try survival, but it will last like half an hour.
We can always quit. I mean, we are still waiting for the last game to finish. We just wanted to present the standings after day one, but we cannot present them if some people are still playing, and especially that they are playing this on one of the, maybe not the very, very top boards, but there is still just one game going on, not on the lowest boards. So this really affects not only the whole standings, but also, yeah, who is at the top, because I guess the winner of that round still will be having, I don't know exactly how many points, but with more than 500 participants, it takes a lot of rounds to make a sole leader. I mean, there are still some people who have the same number of points, and they, with each round, then we get less and less people. I mean, with the highest number of points.
So we can discuss those unsolved puzzles like this one. Its rating is 1100, so maybe it's a shame for me. so, um,
So we will just review those puzzles we didn't do correctly, and I see the game finished, and we can actually. Okay,
so
we'll
like
just.
I told,
Yeah.
I didn't checkmate in one.
Okay, so just show it. Okay, but
I took on b8 instead of checkmating in one. That was awful.
okay, yeah, it happens. Okay, which one also did we did wrong? We can just see. And meanwhile, I think we will get the results, and that's all.
Here, I took here.
Oh, okay.
Instead of
Anna, you need to speak to the mic.
yes, so I took on h2, but after queen takes h2 is king f1 and there is no checkmate. So that's why I should play queen takes. Queen takes.
Yeah, queen takes f2.
Here, checkmate.
Easy, easy. Okay. Was there one more wrong?
Yes, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't finish it. It was this one and here. Okay. I started with rook d1 check, and then time was up. But I think that it is rook g1.
Yeah, probably rook. Okay, I will keep talking. Rook g1, king f3.
F1 and we take on f7.
Okay. Rook f1, a skewer. Rook
And
takes
there
f.
is
Rook takes f7.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Okay, meanwhile, I think and I hope that the standings are being updated. So let's click here, and I'm just refreshing and waiting. Oh, still not here. We are still not here, so we'll just refresh again. But all the games are finished. The playing hall is getting empty. We can just look at that last game. What was the result of that last game? We didn't want to show it on this screen because the players in the playing hall could see it. That's why we did not want to analyze it from here.
But that's not this game.
That's not. No, that's not this game. We were. Okay. I don't know exactly which one was it. It's difficult to find this. Anyway, we will see it from the standings once we get them. So maybe you can try to click and refresh. We'll just wait and refresh. We are still not there, so we are just waiting for the results, and we will sign off from Katowice. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. The next round will start, and yeah. But for today, everything is finished. But the arbiters need to put the results, and sometimes it takes time because from more than 500 people playing, there are like more than 250 boards, I think like 280 exactly, 283 boards. So they need to put 283 results and not make a mistake, because if they do a mistake, well, there could be a problem, because this will affect the results, the pairings for the next game and so on. That's why they need to double check it. But let's refresh.
My job here is to refresh the image. So
Okay. Okay, guys. But let's maybe try to find that game, the last game.
I can leave you for a second and I will find it, okay?
Okay. Okay. So we'll see. But I guess very soon we will get the standings. Yes, yeah, this is it. So that was so we can say that they played 100. Is it? Was it exactly this? I think we can even refresh this just to make sure because there is no result. So that game was very long. Oh, yeah. Okay, 133 moves, 0-1. So Felix Bloberger won his game. So that was his game, the last in this tournament.
But do you think it had finished in that moment? Like,
That actually this game might have gone still, but the digital board might have not catch all the moves. So let's see if there are results.
no. We'll see. But I think there
Okay.
are 3 or 4 players who have points.
Yeah. So if we don't have the results still yet, I think tomorrow we will start, talking about the standings. And for now, I think we need to sign off and yeah, see you tomorrow. And we will start talking about the standings.